the first movie I want to discuss is a movie called The 13th Floor. Now, this movie was recommended to me by my buddy in the community, Jed Halpin. Jed has recommended some great movies over the years, and more, one that I've mentioned on the show specifically is Dark City. Dark City is a great movie that he recommended, Jed. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you very much, Jed, for the recommendation of this movie, The 13th Floor. So he recommended this to me last year. Only just got around to watching it, but I appreciate the recommendation because I really did enjoy this movie, Jed. But anyway, let's get into it. So this is a sci-fi movie. It's very much a neo-noir science fiction thriller. That's what I would say. That's what Wikipedia says. This was released in 1999. This was actually released after The Matrix. So just bear this in mind. So bear that in mind. After The Matrix, this movie came out. So that I don't want to give spoilers because if I spoiled the end of this movie, it will ruin it for you. So I will keep, spoiler free with this discussion, but get into some details without losing too much of the plot details. But story of this movie, it's set in 1999, present day, and there's this company led by this guy, and they run this, it's big, like, $billion simulation company. They build simulations, video game simulations, and they're working on a secret project that is a simulator, like a life simulator, where you can go into this virtual reality machine. You go and you lie down, you go into this simulator, and they've created this simulated world in 1937. But all the people in this virtual world have got jobs, they've got families, they've got names, and then they've got avatars. So they basically, if, say I wanted to go into this world, this 1937 world on this virtual simulator, there'd be someone looking exactly like me, an avatar, whatever you want to call it. Maybe he'd have like a mustache instead, and he'd have actually a head of hair, and he'd be like maybe he's like a barman, or he works in, he's a police officer or something like that. And what happens if you go back? So I go back to this inside to this virtual reality system. You then take over that person within the simulator, and they've got a different name from you, but you become them, and they basically black out that person. The character in the machine blacks out for that time period, so it blacks out for like an hour or two, while you become them. And then when you get pulled out of the simulator, they go back into it, and then they just they lose 2 hours of the time. They kind of like, what happened? Where am I? I love that concept, first of all. I think that's amazing. Bear that in mind. So basically, we see early on in the movie, the owner of this simulation company, he goes into the 1937 world, and then, he gets murdered in present day after he comes out of the simulator. And then his partner, this young guy, played by, so I'll just say the actors in this. We have Douglas Hall, played by Craig Burko, Gretchen Moll is in this, and Vincent D'Onofrio, who we all know as Kingpin. He was in Full Metal Jacket as well. He's in this as well. He works as like the engineer in this simulation company. But yeah, the character played by Craig Burko, Douglas Hall, he's like the main protagonist here. And he is, his boss is murdered in present day. He becomes the prime suspect. The police are chasing him around. And then basically there's a letter left to him in the simulator by his boss before he dies. So he's going in, he's trying to investigate this and trying to find out, piece this together, what's happened to his boss, what's going on. And then in present day, this woman played by Gretchen Moll's character says she's the daughter of his boss, and he's unaware that he had a daughter. And then there's loads of twists and turns. But when I was watching this, it reminded me of, if you've ever watched the British show with Nicholas Lyndhurst, Goodnight Sweetheart, it reminded me, it's like a science fiction Goodnight Sweetheart, but basically he's going in and out of this 1937 time, and every time he goes in, it gets worse for him. Things happen. The plot goes into a darker sort of area. The people in the simulation start becoming aware of things as well, which is quite interesting. and then you see other people go into the simulator, and it is absolutely bizarre. And it's one of those movies where I feel if it didn't come out the same year as The Matrix, it would have done so much better. And I'm pretty sure Dark City was the exact same. I'm pretty sure Dark City came out in 1999 as well. And that, again, just was a really great science fiction movie. And it's not a knock on The Matrix. And I don't think it is necessarily a better movie than The Matrix. Neither do I think Dark City is. But I think they are equally as good movies. But I think they got kind of pigeonholed into these other movies trying to, live off the hype of The Matrix. And I don't think that was the case because they were made probably at the same time. And it's night and day. It's totally different. It's a virtual reality, hooking in and out of The Matrix. But it's a totally different movie. This is like a mystery of finding out what is actually going on in this world. Who murdered his boss? Why was his boss murdered? And it's a really good movie. And I think if you like that neo-noir, that noir type of filmmaking, like that Sin City, it's got that very, the aesthetic of the place when he goes to the 1937, the world is really cool to look at. It reminds me of like that Boardwalk Empire as well, that sort of vibe to it. It's very well made, and I think it's a really good movie. So, again, recommended to me by Jed Halpin. Jed, thank you very much for the recommendation, my friend. It is a superb movie to watch this. Well worth it. And by the end of the movie, I was like, wow, I didn't see it coming, mate. I did not see it coming. But yeah, that's a great one. And I think it's a really good use of this, this virtual world. The plot of it, I think is really well done. The way that they work in all the twists and turns with this story.